is called Amelia Bedelia Bakes Off by Herman Parish. Pictures by Lynn.
Now we go.
So, what do Hello.
Hi.
This is Another Side to Love, bringing you back a new book. Once again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We have Supergirl, and we have Ninjago, and we have Super Mommy, aka Mommy. So let's get into it. So today's book is called Amelia Bedelia Bakes Off by Herman Parish. Pictures by Lynn.
Now we go.
So, what do you think this book is going to be about?
She's gonna make cake.
Okay, thank you. Good observation. What about you, Jada? What do you think the book is going to be about?
She's going to put that on there on the cake.
Okay, so let's see what Amelia Bedelia Bakes Off is about. Okay.
It has some pictures on there.
On her day off, Amelia Bedelia stopped by to visit Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. "Morning, everyone," said Amelia Bedelia. "Shh," said Mr. Rogers.
Who's Mr. Rogers?
I'm going to change it up. I'm going to put your names in the book. "Sorry," said Jada quietly. "Don't mind him, Mrs. Karima. He's watching his favorite show. What's cooking?" "I give up," said Jada. "What are you cooking?" "Nothing," said Mr. Stephen. That is the name of the program. Mr. Stephen was getting annoyed. "Please be quiet, for Pete's sake."
Where's Jada's name?
Just listen to the story. "Who is Pete?" Jada whispered. Mrs. Rogers smiled and said, "His name is Chef du Jour. He shows people how to make gourmet meals and fancy desserts." Mr. Stephen turned up the volume. "Don't forget, Chef du Jour was saying, I'll pick the winner of my big bake-off contest. The best baker will get $1,000. The audience applauded wildly.
That's not me.
Yes, it's not. It's a story. Mr. Stephen clapped his hands too. "Wow," he said. $1,000? That is a lot of dough." "Not really," said Jada. $1,000 is a lot of deer. But there is no dough at all." "Jada," said Mrs. Rogers, "you ought to enter that contest. You make the best lemon meringue pie." "She's right," said Mr. Stephen. "A smart cookie would give it a try."
Where would you see my name?
I'm putting your name in this story.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
You put my name on the story too?
And your name?
Oh, yeah, I did, but not anymore. "Thanks anyway," said Jada. "By tonight, I will be all baked out. Cousin Alcolu and I are running Grace's cookie jar all day today." "You two run a bakery?" said Mr. Stephen. "That sounds like a half-baked idea." "No, it isn't," said Jada. "This idea is completely baked. Grace had to go out of town. She left us her recipes." "You'll do fine," said Mrs. Rogers. "Call us if you need help." "Will do," said Jada.
My name is not, Jade's name is not, and Mom's name is not.
On her way to the bakery, Jada thought about smart cookies. Did they taste better?
Nope.
By the time she arrived, Cousin Alcolu was unlocking the door. "Hey, hi, Cousin Alcolu," said Jada. "Hey there," he said. "You look puzzled." "I was wondering," said Jada, "can a cookie be smart?" Cousin Alcolu shrugged his shoulders. "A cookie can be rich," he said. I've heard that too, she said. Is that what a fortune cookie is? Cousin Alkolu shrugged again and said, maybe so. We'd better get started. They went inside and got ready to do some serious baking. Mm-hmm.
Wait, go back. Look.
They found a big stack of recipes along with a note from Grace. This will be easy, said Jada. Grace will tell us exactly what to do. They read her note together. Start every recipe from scratch. Amelia Bedelia scratched Cousin Alkolu's back. Then Cousin Alkolu scratched her back. That felt good, said Amelia Bedelia. Now I feel like baking. What's first?
Why did she scratch his back and then he scratched her back?
Because the recipe says start every recipe from scratch. The instructions. Cousin Alkolu read from the note out loud. Bake a batch of chocolate chip cookies, but cut the recipe in half. That's easy, said Amelia Bedelia. Snip. Cousin Alkolu shook his head. You know, said Amelia Bedelia, I guess we ought to cut out all of the chocolate chips in half too. What, said Cousin Alkolu? That will take forever. Oh my. I know, said Jada, but we'd better follow Grace's instructions or the cookies may not turn out so tasty. She began to cut each chip in half. Bits of chocolate flew everywhere. This is so silly, said Cousin Alkolu. These are not very smart cookies. Not smart is right, said Jada. These are definitely dumb cookies. You okay? You okay, Jada? Jada looked at Grace's recipes. Gosh, she said, this is unbelievable. Grace wants us to bake 12 pound cakes. Are you sure, said Cousin Alkolu? 12 pounds is a mighty heavy cake. How many 12-pound cakes does Grace want us to bake? She didn't say, said Jada. Her recipe is for just 1 pound cake. One 12-pound cake should be plenty. Cousin Alkolu scratched his head. He said, if we bake 12 1-pound cakes, then stack them on top of one another. That's it, said Jada. That adds up to a 12-pound cake. Cousin Alkolu, you are a genius! By the way, Amelia Bedelia, I've been inserting Jada's name as Amelia Bedelia.
I didn't want my name to be on it.
Amelia Bedelia found 12 pans. She mixed up a huge bowl of batter. Can you sit up, please? Thank you. Can you sit up? Sit back. Amelia Bedelia, let's listen to the story, young people. You listening? Thank you very much. Amelia Bedelia found 12 pans. She mixed up a huge bowl of batter. It was enough for 13 cakes. She found another pan and crammed all 13 cakes into the oven to bake. You know, said Cousin Alkolu, a baker's dozen is actually 13. See there, said Amelia Bedelia, aka Jada, you can count better than a baker. Cousin Alkolu finished cutting all of the chocolate chips in half. Then he read the other half of the recipe. Please bring me the salt, he said. Here you go, said Jada. She brought him a huge box of salt. That is too much, said Stephen. I just need a pinch. Amelia Bedelia reached out and, ouch, hollered Cousin Alkolu. What did you pinch me for? For the recipe, said Amelia Bedelia. I gave you a pinch like you asked. Cousin Alkolu rubbed his arms. I'm so sorry, said Amelia Bedelia. I didn't mean to hurt you. Now you've got a chip on your shoulder. No, I don't, said Cousin Alkolu. I'd never hold a grudge against you. I'd never hold a grudge against you. Hold still, said Amelia Bedelia. She reached out and plucked the chocolate chip off his shoulder. Then she said, open wide. She tossed the chip into his mouth. Yum, said Cousin Alcolu. Thanks. He finished mixing the dough and put a batch of cookies into the second oven to bake. Amelia Bedelia got 3 cakes out of the refrigerator. What are those, said Cousin Alcolu. Grace calls them cheesecakes, said Amelia Bedelia. We're supposed to put cherries on top. Cheesecake. Jada, are you listening? Cherries with cheese, said Cousin Alcolu. Sounds like a yucky combination to me. Me too, said Amelia Bedelia. I bet if these cakes looked cheesier, they wouldn't need any cherries. They cut holes to make a Swiss cheesecake, drizzled food coloring to paint a blue cheesecake, and planted flags to create an American cheesecake. Wow. Take that out your mouth.
American cheesecake?
Beep, beep, beep. Just then the oven timer went off. Amelia Bedelia and Cousin Alcolu took out the pound cakes and put them on racks to cool. Then they took the cookies out of the oven and had a tea break to sample them. You know what, said Amelia Bedelia? They taste better with the chips cut in half. These are smart cookies after all. It was worth the work, said Cousin Alcolu. Now let's build that 12-pound cake. Let's build the 12-pound cake. Amelia Bedelia handed him cake after cake. Cousin Alcolu carefully stacked each one higher and higher and higher. Is it my imagination, said Amelia Bedelia, or are the cakes starting to lean? I can't tell, said Cousin Alcolu. Hand me that last cake, please. That's a big cake. That's a big cake. As soon as he put it on top, it slid off and crashed onto the table. Uh-oh, said Cousin Alcolu. This pound cake got pounded. No problem, said Amelia Bedelia. Our baker's dozen gave us a spare cake. Bakers must know that accidents happen. Lucky for us, said Cousin Alcolu. We're almost finished. Amelia Bedelia checked the recipes. Hold on, she said. This is even luckier. Grace wants us to make a crumb cake. Let's just press these crumbs together. The 2 of them pushed and prodded until the crumbs turned into a cake. Presto, crumb cake, said Amelia Bedelia. Yes, sirree, said Cousin Alcolu. That is one crummy cake. Alcolu.
Cake.
Yes, cake. Ring, ring, ring. Uh-oh, said Amelia Bedelia. Did we leave something in the oven? That's the phone, said Cousin Alcolu. Hello, said Amelia Bedelia. This is Grace's cookie jar. May I help you? Hi, it's Grace, said Grace. How are things going? How are things going? What do you think? How do you think things are going?
Good.
Almost done, said Amelia Bedelia. We've got one last cake to go, but I think I'll make it at home. Good thinking, said Grace. You must be exhausted. I am, said Amelia Bedelia. I'll bring it in tomorrow. I've got an idea, said Grace. I'll be at the big bake-off. Just meet me there, okay? Okay, said Amelia Bedelia. Thank you. Bye-bye, said Grace. Take that out your mouth, Jada. Take that out your mouth. Cousin Alcolu began to clean up. I'll handle this mess, he said. You go home and bake that cake, then get some sleep. Thank you, said Amelia Bedelia. I can barely keep my eyes open. By the time she got home, Amelia Bedelia was yawning, but she had one last cake in her. It was an old family recipe that her grandmother had taught her. There were just 9 ingredients. She mixed them up right in the pan, then put the pan in the oven. So she has sugar, vinegar, vanilla, vegetable oil, baking soda, salt, flour, and cocoa. Cocoa. Chocolate. After the cake had baked and cooled, she cut 2 tiny pieces off one and set them right on top. Then she frosted and decorated her cake from top to bottom. The next day, Amelia Bedelia overslept. She was tired from all that baking. She picked up her cake and dashed to the bake-off. She had to run. Incredible cakes filled the hall. Television cameras were everywhere. Reporters interviewed the bakers. The excitement was building. Amelia Bedelia looked around. She did not see Grace anywhere. Amelia Bedelia put her cake down on the table and went to search for her. Look at the different cakes. Dinosaur cake,
What dinosaur
princess cake.
cake? I didn't see a dinosaur cake.
Dinosaur
I
cake.
see a princess cake.
Yes. At that moment, Chef du Jour strolled in Amelia Bedelia's direction. He looked grumpy, just like on TV. When he got to Amelia Bedelia's cake, Chef du Jour stopped in his tracks. "What is this?" asked Chef du Jour. "Is this someone's idea of a joke?" "It's my idea," said Amelia Bedelia, "and it is no joke." "Then what is it?" demanded the chef. "What is it? What is it?" "It started out as a sheet cake," said Amelia Bedelia, "but I was so tired when I baked it, I went ahead and made the whole bed." A smile came over the chef's face.
A pillow cake?
"Yes." "It's so easy to make," said Amelia Bedelia, "and it's pretty tasty." "Really?" said the chef. "You can actually eat it?" "Here," said Amelia Bedelia, "bite into a pillow." The chef took a bite. He closed his eyes, and his smile got even bigger.
He eat it. Ew.
"Your cake is simple," he said, "yet the flavor is complex. It's funny but seriously delicious." "Glad you like it," said Amelia Bedelia. "Like it," said Chef du Jour. "I love it. It's fantastic. Your cake takes the cake. And first prize." She won first prize. There was a huge cheer. Amelia Bedelia smiled and waved to everyone at home, especially the two she knew were watching.
They was at home at the
Mr. and Mrs. Rogers were speechless. Then they jumped for joy. "See there," said Mrs. Rogers. "Jada is a smart cookie after all." "She sure is," said Mr. Stephen. "And with the $1,000, she's a fortune cookie too." Aww. The end.
Yay!
Another Side to Love. This is the book. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.